Hi, everyone, and welcome to another conversation on the Deeper with Josephina podcast. Today, I'm joined by Paal, and he is the founder of the Wildman Program, which is a school for embodied masculinity and sexuality. So, Paal, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell your story? Yeah. Do you want to tell your story of who you are, of how you came where you are today, of your journey into this world? I'm super curious.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell my story. Yeah, I'm come from Norway, and I've been on this path of personal development and tantra, and yeah, being curious of who I really am for around 20 years or something like that. And yeah, it started with a leadership seminar as a young man, and then we're going to stand in front of a lot of people and talk about passionate subject or whatever, and I didn't feel confident. So it was like I didn't feel like I was belonging with these older people, which were so much better than me. But then there was a amazing woman who held that lecture, and she talked about that we might have more resources inside of ourselves than we were aware of, and that we should start question who we really are, and that we can find these resources inside of us. And so I dived in and daring to face my vulnerability, and also then coming out with a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, and was singing in front of 30 people. And so it was like a turning point, and then like, yes, I want to know more about who I am. So that kick-started me onto a journey into NLP and Anthony Robbins, and then brand-based, going deeper into emotional healing, inner child work, and then into satsang and deeper meditations. And then still it was like I was coming in touch with my vulnerability and a lot of my femininity, but there was also a lot around my sexuality and around women, which was like, I don't really know how to do that. And I felt like also was a blockage between spirituality and sexuality. So I was like, and I had some difficulties in relationship and stuff like that. And yeah, after a beginning of another relationship started, I felt like, okay, I have to face my vulnerability around sexuality, also finding the strength, keeping my sexual energy. So then I went head on into a hardcore tantra school, and I took around 50 workshops, and like went head on, and yeah, so I was there for 5 years, and then I came into sacred medicine and ayahuasca, and which kind of also took me back to the heart again. So in one way, to find the balance between that vulnerability and also that masculinity is kind of been my journey, how to be a man, being strong, but also daring to open up the door to that vulnerable heart. So it's still an exploration and a journey to walk on.
What a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I notice I'm very struck by the daring to be vulnerable, the daring to open your heart. So why do you think it's so hard for most men to connect to their heart, to connect to their vulnerability? Because I hear a lot of men that really want to, and they're like, I want to feel, but I just can't.
Yeah.
So why is that, do you think?
I think it's coming very early in the childhood, and the models of what it is to be a man is like, don't cry, you're going to be strong, you're going to compete, you're going to be the best in what you're doing, and don't be gay, don't be like too vulnerable. It's not accepted. So it's kind of, it takes a lot of courage for a man to open up that door. And that's what I do in my Wildman work as well. It's easier for us men to come together, to fight a little bit, to kind of play with our anger, our power. And then it's like, okay, we are accepted. Okay, now we can open up the other door and into the vulnerability and yeah, into the heart as well. but that's when we're just having that safe container and being met. And I think if I'm going to think a little bit of my journey as well, I open up that vulnerability, but it was also not accepted a lot with my peers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when I was in my 20s, it was like, what has happened with Paal? It's like he's doing meditation and healing and all of that, and he's not so cool anymore. He's not going out and taking drugs or what, drinking or whatever. And it's like, yeah. So it takes some courage to open that door. And
yeah, I know that, or I always try to kind of, instead of thinking like, oh, men can't feel, like to try to see it from their perspective. And what I've learned from a lot of men is that they, for instance, have women that say, I want to feel you, I want to feel you, and I can't feel you. It's very hard for them to access because they never had to and they were told not to. But then there's also the additional thing of, but when they do access it, there's almost a loss of their tribe because their current guy friends or their current brothers are just not on that level or might not get it. So it's scary on so many levels. And then the additional thing that actually often when men are vulnerable, women don't respond to it very well. We say we want men to feel, we say we want them to be vulnerable. When your guy is crying in front of you or is showing that he's insecure, we actually don't really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So it must be such a confusing journey for a guy to be in. What do I need to be?
Yeah. And often I think, first of all, I think it takes a lot of trust for a man to open up that vulnerable part of himself. And often like the women is like, you should open up your heart. You should be more vulnerable and like forcing it. And it's like, then he's just hiding even more, or it's like, it's not safe to open up. And as you said, a lot of women doesn't have that experience of holding the space, or at least they have to have done a lot of work to hold the space for a man. And some women maybe are not mature enough to do that, and as you said, and then projecting it back, no, he's just a wimp. He's so it's, and that is kind of again, it can easily come that hurt again, and then okay, I shouldn't open up, I shouldn't be vulnerable, so I don't have any place to go. That said, it's like when my experience, the more I can really own it, and that's why I think often men's work can be good to do, is because then you have that safe container to open up, and you get other who open up, and the more I become secure in myself and hold my own vulnerability, and I'm going there anyhow, then I will also much easier be respected by my partner or my woman. So it's
So I'm curious on your opinion on this. Like I often hear men that they think they have to be just like women. So in order to be vulnerable, they have to be more like their women. And I notice in my own work with men, there's actually a way to be vulnerable that isn't just like women do it. There is a masculine way to go to the heart. So, and I can hear you also speak about that. So what in your experience is that? What is like doing it the men's way, right? Doing it the guy's way? What's honoring a man going to his heart? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think we are conditioned a little bit different. So I think it's like, it's easier, as I said, for us to get in touch with our masculinity first. Because often if a man goes straight into his vulnerability, and that's what can happen, especially with mommy boys or more vulnerable guys. So they become like a little bit new age wimp, or and then it's like, if I kind of do my own work first and kind of almost like my masculinity hold my femininity, my vulnerability, then I'm coming out also with a part of presence. I'm not only just needing your support. I am also an adult in my own vulnerability. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because I've women contacting me that say, "Where are all the men? Where are all the real men?" Because especially in the conscious community, there's a lot of very light, kind, sweet men, and they honor their women completely, and yet it doesn't create that polarity. It doesn't create a lot of excitement in women often because they're like, "But I just want a man to push me against the wall." Right? We don't always want to
yeah,
be that respected and honored.
I wanted to be vulnerable then, and now I wanted to push them against the wall. everything going to be different than I am.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of a little bit where we as men also need to step up a little bit
Yeah.
in the conversation, and it's like, don't take all that bullshit. And it's like women have an ability to complain. It's like, and that's kind of, I can almost feel like this is where I'm speaking up for a lot of men. It's like, we are tired of hearing you, how we're going to be, or you telling us how we're going to be. And it's like, no, it's like to stop that and go back into your own vulnerability, go into your own masculinity, and let's meet there. And it's like, for the man to set healthy boundaries is, first he has to do it for himself, and first he has to kind of own his own stuff. But then it's like so important that he kind of give the woman a challenge, and don't saying yes, and especially the people in the spiritual, and they are often a little bit more into their mommy boys and into that, because they have the door a little bit more open than other men. So really they need to step up and daring to set these healthy boundaries with women. And
So
you can you can express as a woman, you can express what you really want, but you should do this, you should do that. It's like, no. You can ask for it, but in a healthy way, and then I can say if I want to do it or not. Or maybe I want to do something else, and to finding that healthy polarity there.
Yeah, I think at a deeper level, we all want our partners to be maybe self-actualized, to really be themselves. And I think the feminine notices when a man is being so nice that he is betraying himself, right? That he does everything for you, even when he doesn't have the time, that he does everything for you, even though he's tired, right? And that may sound like, oh my God, this guy is there for me all the time, but she notices he's betraying himself, and that makes him less trustworthy, because I now have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because apparently you aren't.
Right. Yeah.
And so actually a man that gives boundaries is so sexy. Even when he isn't doing what I want him to do, it's so sexy because he's actually self-actualizing. He's standing for himself, and now I can trust him. Now I don't have to do that work for him.
Right.
And this is why I think a lot of nice guys end up last, because the nice guy is actually very difficult to trust.
Yeah.
Because he's going to give too much. He's going to betray himself. He's going to become resentful. He's going to give love when it's actually a plea for connection.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's not clean.
And then he after a while either explode or disappeared, you know?
Yeah, he'll implode or explode.
Yeah.
Because he's angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you're speaking into this, because I think a lot of men think they need to be better for their women.
Yeah, and that's kind of the sadness, you know. I see it's like we get a lot of complaints about how we're making love and how we are kind of not present or whatever. But often what I feel is like man wants to do just too much. I want to give her the orgasms. I want to kind of please her. I want to know everything, but I'm not really enjoying sex. I'm not really in my body, and I'm not really standing up for myself. So that is kind of the journey I take them on, is like first to kind of leave addictions, leave the superficial feminine things, and do your Wildman workout or your practice, and keep your sexual energy, stay in your body and getting down in your body, and know your patterns and know where you can kind of lean, and often lean towards the masculine in a healthy way, and to set that boundary for myself, and then also for my environment and my woman. So yeah,
I
and then
heard you there on yeah, go on.
doing less. So like, I don't need, I am responsible for my own pleasure in lovemaking. And if I'm not having a good time with a woman, or if then it's time to stop. I'm gonna feel it pleasurable in my own body. And what I say is, like, we men need as long foreplay as women, and actually almost longer.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, because the biggest problem for men is premature ejaculation, and that's only because he's selling himself. He's not fully embodied. He's more eager to be someone, to give her orgasms. So if he's fully taking time, slowing down, also maybe receiving a massage, or slow everything a lot down, and so he's not selling his belly or his cock in order to please his woman. It's like the body knows, the cock knows. It's like, when I am fully embodied, that's also, I think, the most sexy women, because that presence, that masculine presence, is what's you get turned on. And as you said, setting healthy boundaries, and can we slow down? Can we? And then opening up, okay, how do you like to be touched? It's not my responsibility to give you anything. It's like, how can we play? How can we dance together? And I also want to receive something from you, and I also want to be here with you, to be in my own body, but also fully enjoy you instead of pleasing you or giving myself away.
There's so much wisdom in these last few minutes. What do I want to go into? I love this almost idea of selfishness. That's just so needed, especially for a man to say, like, but I also need. I'm not always giving. I also need. And the idea, I think, that presence is actually not about being fully present with the other person. It's actually, first and foremost, being so present in yourself that you notice what the other person is doing with you.
Right.
And it's not
So
this yeah, go on.
Yes, I never leave myself. I'm always, some of my awareness is inside of my own body, so that I can be in my own pleasure and really enjoy. And if I'm not feeling pleasurable, I'm stopping. It's like I'm waiting and to take that next step. And then when I'm there and can be with that or express that, I'm moving on and continue. And
so what about the situation where I think a lot of men get triggered, and a lot of couples find difficult to navigate, for instance, she has difficulty orgasming. He doesn't really know how to give that to her. She maybe wants a different kind of touch or a different kind of energy. And when she addresses that, he feels very critiqued and hurt. And the little boy shows up, and they're just not meeting each other. What about a situation like that? Like, what is from what you're describing now, like what's actually the healthy, sovereign masculine there?
Yeah, it's I think the will of consent and that kind of practice is crucial, and to put that container, that it's like, again, it's not my or the man's responsibility to give a woman the orgasm. It's her pleasure. And then it's like, okay, what do you feel pleasurable? How would you like to be touched? What do you don't like? And the more you can kind of pre-frame it, and that I dare to, okay, I don't know you. I don't know how to touch, so I need to ask. And as men know as well, the women are in different periods in their, some days they're very open. If you do that same next day, it's
not gonna work.
it's like, how can we know? And it's taking also the responsibility back for the woman. And it's, if the woman, okay, then you ask, have you had the orgasm when you self-pleasure yourself? How is that? What do you do then? And so you kind of educate on how this woman is, so
Yeah.
that I kind of can do that and still also trusting my own impulses, and
Yeah.
so I give my own flavor, and I'm not
Oof.
only again to pleasing, but but it's all about slowing down. And it's like, if I can slow down and stay with my own sexual energy and being aroused, normally that turn on the woman. And if I still breathing and slowing down even more when I'm having sex, it's kind of, the body knows, the orgasm will come when it will come, and it's not a
Yeah.
pressure. If you can take that orgasm out of, it's
Yeah.
like, normally it's like, it's good sex if you have orgasm, but
Mhm.
no, it's kind of, the body knows how to have an orgasm.
Yeah.
So it's just to give that time for the body to kind of open up and
Yeah.
to enjoy that pleasure.
Yeah.
And I find it's like, the more a man can make, so what I'm doing is I take them first on to learn to self pleasure themselves, because most
Yes.
men are kind of wanking off themselves or wanking to porn or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but then I am used and kind of conditioned to make love in the same way when
Yeah.
I'm with my woman.
Yeah.
So the more I'm coming back to my own body and can really love myself and touch myself and enjoy my body
Yeah.
and last longer with my own self pleasure, and just making that into a self love ritual,
Yeah.
and learning to keep my own sexual energy and not
Yeah.
ejaculate so fast, and yeah, be able to hold that sexual energy,
Yeah.
then I can bring those experiences into the bedroom with my partner.
Yeah. I noticed there's two things that stick out for me. Like, one is I love that you're talking about this like slowing down. Because for me, like the young masculine is one that like needs to do something right away. Like you tell him a story and he wants to fix it right away for you. He wants to get to orgasm as quickly as possible because then she's orgasmed and I did it right. Like there's this hastiness to the young masculine, this like impatience of just needing to get it done real quick. And I feel like the mature masculine is actually able to just let's sit in this. Let's that there be time and space and wideness of just, okay, I'm here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a slowing down, and then you can feel the subtleties. Otherwise, there's no time to feel the subtleties.
Right.
That's, yeah. So I love that you're talking about that. Um, you spoke before about keeping your sexual energy as a guy, which I think is also connected to the self pleasure. Like, why is that important to keep your sexual energy? Can you say what you mean with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can tell my own story.
Yeah.
And it kind of changed my life. It was a game changer. It was
Yeah.
like, before I always felt a little bit uncomfortable in my body, had some suppressed emotions, and was more like up and down in life.
Mm-hmm.
But when I kind of brought that sexual energy and not leaking that out,
Mm-hmm.
I started to kind of, I needed to conduct more energy, but it's kind of, I'm leveling up my whole body with my other practices, daily practices, meditation or whatever, or workout. And so I kind of, when I'm holding that, I learning to conduct, I can hold more energy, and I'm getting more and more happy. Is kind of, I feel like I'm growing. So I will have a deeper presence,
Mm.
and the good thing, what I find, and from my tantra school, you can open up the kundalini as well. You can
Yeah.
start circulating the sexual energy. So
Yeah.
instead of bringing it out, you can bring it around
Mm-hmm.
in your body, and your whole body gets access to that. And then, yeah, man can become multi-orgasmic and enjoy so much more pleasure, and enjoy the body. And so if I am happy, I mean, if I am content when I'm meeting a woman, then I don't need anything from her.
Yeah.
I am fulfilled. I'm also in contact with my own femininity, and I'm full.
Yeah.
So even when I'm coming from a place of fullness, and not from a neediness or begging for having sex, then I
Mm.
become more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also slow down because I'm not going to have something.
Yeah. You don't need to
So
get something. Yeah.
so then, and then I can last so much longer, because also then it's not my, you don't need to give, or a woman doesn't need to give me something. And
Yeah.
then so it's, yeah, so it's become more a dance, and I'm more like an adult play instead of we needing each other. It's kind of,
Yeah.
we are here to enjoy each other and support each other, and we're using the sexual energy and the love making to grow together.
Yeah. I saw a picture of you on social media where you went through a really gigantic transformation. You look like a totally different man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. I think I'm bringing it to the to the sexual energy. Is
Yeah.
I'm not ejaculating.
Of not ejaculating.
Or yeah, it was also bringing a more of my masculine side as well, but the sexual energy fully transformed me. It's like, because then when I have that, then I can, then other habits go away. So like sugar,
Yeah.
I get more energy to exercise. I get more energy to do what I really want and to do my life purpose. So it's kind
Yeah.
of, we need that energy. We need, sexual energy is like creative energy. So we can bring that instead into our life purpose, or to
Yeah.
make our body more fit or whatever.
So I'm sure a lot of men that are listening to this think not ejaculating, because you didn't ejaculate for, was it 1,111 days? Is that what it said there?
Yeah, it's I'm still on the journey, so I'm
Ah,
still, yeah, probably 3.5 years or something like that now.
that's insane. Or no, that's incredible. Um,
Yeah.
so a lot of men that are going
I
to listen to this are going to think, huh? Not ejaculate? What?
yeah.
So what do you say for a man that's just starting this journey, for whom it's even a new idea to not ejaculate when he masturbates or when he fucks? Like, what do you say to a man like that?
Yeah, it's many angles to bring in. It can be
Mm,
the science, but yeah, we need more science on it.
yeah,
But the dopamine goes down, the oxytocin go
yeah,
down, you get the testosterone go down after an ejaculation, and it's low for some days,
yeah,
or at least hours. There is different science on it,
yeah,
but you can feel that you are kind of depleted
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah,
So as a man, I found it so much more powerful to not to end the lovemaking like that. That I can
yeah,
fully be present with my partner.
yeah,
And it's like, if I'm falling down, and it's like, where should I hide it? I normally go to sleep, or
yeah,
I
yeah,
and if I'm making love to my partner 3 times a day,
yeah,
especially in the beginning when you're in love, it's like, if you
yeah,
do that, you start feeling drained
yeah,
after a while, and you're
yeah.
losing the power. And that's what I felt. I kind of, why do I get weaker in a relationship with a woman?
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I'm having sex so much more, and I'm what to do. So either I become a mommy boy and pleasing, or
Yeah.
I'm needing my own space and
Retreat. Yeah.
retreat away. So
Yeah.
there is a guilt. It's like a guilt because I don't want my partner as much anymore. So it's
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
so that's the, so if you want to grow spiritually,
Yeah.
emotionally, physically, be happy in your life,
Yeah.
keep your sexual, try it at least for 21 days or something like
Yeah.
that, and see if there are any effects.
Yeah. I always wish every man to have at least ejaculatory choice. And then you can decide what's best for you, what works for you, but to at least know what sex is like when you don't have to come. Because then when does it stop? Right?
Yeah.
What does sex look like then? Like, what are we gonna do? When do we end it? So you need to retrain then how you're fucking, because you need to do that together now. So
Yeah.
whatever a man I think decides in this, I think it's so important to at least have the ejaculatory choice, that you don't have to. You don't have
Yeah.
to.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have to, and then you're taking out the performance, because
Yeah.
what most men are suffering with is, I need to perform, I need to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And if I could relax, and if I can bring that out, and but it's not that I need to go for as long. I can also daring to receive. I can receive a
Yeah.
massage. It's like,
Yeah.
can you massage, or can you my partner massage me, so I kind of relax, and then we can go back and we have
Yeah.
sex again. So we
Yeah.
kind of switching polarities as well,
Yeah.
and it's so much better.
Yeah. The
So
switching of polarity is so important, because I think even the most masculine man needs to be in his feminine sometimes to show up as a masculine man. You can never just be in one. Like my partner always says this so beautifully. I've said it many times, but he always says, like, just think of the warrior that just had a battle and comes back to his tent and lays down at the fire, and his woman washes his feet for him. Right? Like
yeah,
a
yeah,
man needs that moment of just, can I lay with you and can you wash my feet? Because I just fought a war. Right. And to that doesn't mean that a man is feminine. It just means that a man is trusting his woman enough to surrender.
yeah. Yeah, and that's so beautiful when you say that, because I think we need more women as well, being willing to how to serve your man into your feminine. It's vulnerable for a man to go there, but it's kind of, I think that's where I get most touched as well. It's
Yeah.
like when my partner kind of gives me something, or open me up, or from a good place. It's yeah, we as men also need to recharge, and
Yeah. Yeah. And to not always have it together. Sometimes
yeah,
just being the receiver. Yeah. And I noticed, like, in my own relationship, when we do switch those polarities, we both feel so much more energized afterwards. Like
all
if I
right.
get a day in my dominance or in my masculine in my relationship, like the next day I'm on fire. I'm so energized. And so is he, right? Like that's why it's so important to know what polarity is and to play with it, because it's such an energizer. Literally is life energy that gets the flow from the positive to the negative, from the masculine to the feminine. So if you start realizing that and playing with it in yourself, in your relationship, in life, like there's just more energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can become, I can become happy, you know, for not for, when I get to recharge as well. It's like,
Yeah.
life is good.
Yeah.
Now I know how it is as to be a woman, you know, to just
Yeah.
shine.
Yeah.
But but the beautiful thing is also, is like, when I have been receiving in my feminine, I can, and then going back into my masculine, my
Yes.
love making is also much deeper,
Yeah.
and it's like I am fully recharged,
Yeah.
and then I can take my partner so much deeper as well on the journey. So
Yeah. So what does multi-orgasmicness look like for men? Because I think we all have kind of an idea of what that could be like for women. I think it's more accessible maybe in a feminine body. But what does that even look like for men? Because I think a lot of guys have no idea what that even is.
yeah, yeah, it comes a lot, or not for everyone, but it's first, it's kind of to hold the sexual energy and embody it.
Yeah.
But the multi-orgasmic man is not ejaculating or having an orgasm through the penis, but
Yeah.
he needs to be open to his vulnerable side.
Yeah.
So the sexual energy coming from the pelvic up through the anus and
Yeah.
up through the spine. So
Mm-hmm.
he needs to kind of be able to receive as well.
Yeah.
So it's like what my old teacher Alex said. It was like, in front of God, we are all feminine. So it's kind of,
Yes.
we need to be able to let go and surrender. So it's not only about me fucking, but it's also, yeah, that's a little bit more advanced. That's if you want to be penetrated as well, or to
Yeah.
receive,
Yeah.
or receiving a massage, or
Yeah.
because when the kundalini is getting awakened,
Mm.
it's another, for me, that is actually when real tantric sex is happening. It's like, because then the energy body is kind of living its own life,
Yeah.
and then it's like just watching or just hugging can be like, oh, it's
So
like,
delicious.
Yeah. Because then I'm opening up my body and feel it. It's like you're feeling each other so much more. And that's, yeah, it's so pleasurable. So you can bring it into all your spiritual practices, doing Qigong, doing ecstatic dance,
Yes.
and you're kind of having small full body orgasms. So it can be everywhere, but it's amazing also in love making.
Yeah, you're kind of like, things are falling into place in my head, I noticed, because we were teaching our men's group a few days ago, and we said like when you really become multi-orgasmic, like your elbow can become orgasmic. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, you could tell, like, really, when your body is fully online, like an elbow can be totally orgasmic. Like, I don't get it. And I thought, now that I'm talking to you, things are falling into place, that it's really about opening up to pleasure and opening up to sensation. And for that, if a man is only in the giving, penetrating performance role, he's actually never opening up to his own pleasure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in order to be the multi-orgastic, there has to be this opening to your own pleasure of just like, what am I feeling? Oh, this feels good. Oh, there's more of that.
Yeah. And that's where we need to kind of bring in and feel everything.
Yeah.
I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling drained, I'm feeling, but I cannot allow myself to feel everything and turning from a pain body to a pleasure body.
Yeah.
And that's what and to conduct and hold all of that pleasure. And that's what I love with using tantra and tantric sexuality. It's like we can play with the sexual energy, but we're playing with fire, so it's kind of a little bit hard core practice in one way. So it helps that you have done some emotional work as well, but you don't need to, but it helps.
So for women who are listening to this and think, oh my God, I want my man to do these things, I think the deeper question is, how can women support men or call men into their power? Because what I do know is that it doesn't work when we say, here's what you should do. You should breathe your energy up your spine. The masculine doesn't like this. So how can we support men in this? Or how can we call a man into his power? Or how can the feminine support the masculine, I think is my question.
Yeah, it's I think it comes both ways, but it's like there normally needs to be a willingness from the man to do it.
Yeah.
If he's not willing, if he doesn't want to give away his orgasm, or if he's not so much into growing it, you cannot force anyone to change, but you need to talk about his benefits. What can he, would you like to have more energy? Would you like to be able to make love longer? Would you like to enjoy your own body so much more? So it's kind of maybe have, it's a little bit like to say that the full body orgasm, because it can take some time. If you have never felt your body before, it takes time to open up your body normally, if you're not going to force it. But I don't support to force open a kundalini.
No.
It's like the body knows, the body, the trauma, the pain is there for a reason. And the more we can just breathe into it, feel it, doing the practice and commit to the practices, the more you will grow and you will have healthy habit in your life. So this willingness of growing is must be in the man. And then if you have, okay, look at this guy, look at this, or I think I'm a little bit since you're working with men, but you can bring another flavor to the man, and it's also good because a lot of men likes to have a presence of a woman. It's easy for them to be motivated. But it's also amazing to have it from a male body and from a brotherly support, which other men who have been going through the same journey. So we can it both have benefits. So
So I think what I would also love to hear more about is, I think we were talking about this just before we started, is the difference for a woman to express to her man, or to kind of maybe nag or complain or critique or demand, right? Because we
Yeah.
think it's powerful to be able to say, you're not showing up for me and you need to do better. And we think that's fierce and we think that's strong. And actually, like, nobody that's receiving that wants to step into their power, right? Like, nobody would. So let's say, for instance, my man has some willingness, but he isn't very present in the bedroom and he's still very much in scripted sex or performance driven sex. What is the way to go into expression as the feminine rather than going like, you're not showing up for me, I'm not enjoying this, you need to do better, here's a tantra book?
Yeah, it's like for the women to be fully honest. It's like, where does this come from?
Right.
If this is coming from a place of anger or frustration or annoyed or whatever, your man will not be able to receive it. It's like, we have a less, most of us at least, most men have a less feminine body, or developed our own femininity. So if we get a complaint, we are easier, we can't take so much of this. So it triggers us pretty easy, and that's why it's better to if you are doing it from a slow place, and maybe you just touch, maybe you're just doing a belly to belly or just resting with each other, then you have that connection already with each other. And just asking curious question about him, and then can we give each other feedback and opening up where there is trust and where there is love, and not in the middle of a sex or in the middle of an argument or whatever. It's like,
by the way.
So pre-framing is good, you know, and having that container, and that it's like asking and asking how you like to be touched, or like, I would like this and this, would you like to try that? We want, most men just want to be good in bed. So if we can get some tips from how you like to be touched, we will like, oh yes, we will do that. We will do that all the time. It's like, oh, got the trick.
I know now.
Yeah, I know now.
So I saw on your website, you're talking about the new man, right? The new version of man. Like, what is that to you? Who is that? What is it that we need? What is it that we're missing? Where do we need men to go?
Yeah, I think, the new man is more embodied. He's kind of not living up in his own head, and he's kind of bringing his awareness through into our heart, into his balls, and into his feet. He's kind of standing on the ground, and he's full of energy, and then he's fully embodied, open heart, connected to the divine. And I'm kind of here to serve. I'm here to first serve my own body and my own, but I'm here to serve my partner. I'm here to serve the world. I'm here to make a difference, and seeing and looking for opportunity to grow together, and helping other men and women to rise up in their greatness. And so it's not about grabbing or taking, but it's kind of, how can I serve and how can I give? And of course, setting healthy boundaries if when that is needed. But he's fully himself, and
It sounds really nice. Like, where are all of them? So when a woman, I have a lot of women, they're like, so where are these men? Where are they?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah, we have a few in the Wildman Program. They, I tried to teach and show my way and where I'm going, and I think we are coming more and more men. It's like more and more men are waking up and finding that I need to make a change. I want to grow, and I want to say to the women, if they are fully showing up in their own radiance, I'm sure there will be plenty of men around if they stop complaining about it and start looking, because I think there are many beautiful men around. They are awesome, and we are also just waiting to be given that opportunity to shine and come out with our vulnerability, with our strengths, so we yeah, so there's many beautiful men around. That's what I see, and more. But we are a little bit behind you women in some way, because we haven't, it's not been acceptable to develop the feminine in a healthy way. Because you women are like, you are being cherished in your masculine, you're cherished in your feminine. But it's
Yes.
like, if we are just a half a
Mm.
man in our masculine, then it's like we can't really compete with you. So
Mm.
more and more daring to open up to that vulnerability, femininity, and being fully who I am, and being connected to my own true nature. And so I see a lot of beautiful men. I am with them often.
Yeah. I really felt that when you said like we're also just waiting for you to invite us in, right? Like
Yeah.
I noticed that I see a lot of women around me that, especially kind of from the goddess empowerment scene, that are saying like I want a man that treats me like a queen, and otherwise he's not worthy of me. And I think honestly, like, are you treating him like a king, or does he need to prove his worth constantly? Is he wrong from the start?
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and that's, I'm a little bit afraid to say, but that's where the goddess syndrome can be a little bit too much.
Yeah, I
It's
completely agree.
like we're talking about rising as a king as well, and but it's also like I want to have a queen as well. I don't want to have a spoiled princess
Yeah.
on my side, or I'm going to do everything right. No, I don't have everything right. I am not perfect. I am having my shitty days and whatever, but I
Yeah.
do the best I can to do my own practices. And if I am doing my best and I'm doing what I can, sometimes I also need a little bit support. And but I'm there fully to own my own shit and my own life.
Yeah.
But that's what I want you to as well. Or like a queen is kind of, she knows her way. She
Yes.
has her own dignity,
Yes.
and she doesn't need a man to treat her. She are independent in her way, and but then we come together to support each other, to
Yeah.
how can we strengthen each other. It's more about that, to serve each other.
Yeah.
And if I'm as a man, or many men are not so familiar with that vulnerability, okay, how can you support a man to bring that out,
Yeah.
instead of he's doing this and this wrong? And that's where I like, we need that's where we men need to come back,
Yes.
and not spoil you, because then we're not doing you a favor either.
Yeah. I completely agree. I teach the women I work with this, that they if you don't respect the man that you're with, don't be with him. You need to
Mm-hmm.
respect him, so that also when he is trying to figure things out, all you see is a respectable person that you just want to support in his journey, not a man that needs to prove that he's not a shitty man.
Right.
Right? If you're speaking about my guy, oh, my guy's lazy, my guy doesn't do this, my guy doesn't do this, especially for the masculine, that's such a shitty energy to be in, to feel that you're not being respected, that you're not taken serious, that you're not being honored in who you are by the woman that has chosen you. Right? Like being
Yeah.
for a man, or for the masculine, there's this integrity of word, like be who you say that you are. I think for the feminine, it's this integrity of heart, that at least who you choose to give your heart to, that's a full yes, that you respect him, that you are taking him serious, that you're honoring him. Otherwise, why are you with him?
Yeah. And let's also face it, like a relationship is fucking difficult. It brings up the juiciness, the sex, even in tantric sex. But even though you have all these tools and practice, the whole purpose, as I see the relationship, is to bring this unfinished inner child stuff,
Yes.
old programming. They will surface. There will be moments of pain. There will be disappointment, and like fully, I can't stand with my man or with my woman. But that is when, okay, that is when you kind of gonna show up fully.
Yeah.
Like the woman has her practices, I as a man have my practices, and we have the practices to come together, and we know our different patterns, and that's when we're going to do the real work. But if the women is a spoiled princess, then it doesn't work. If the man is lazy, it doesn't work. So it's how are we really choosing each other? And that's also a little bit like in the tantric field with open relationship, can be a way of not really daring to do the work. And so it's knowing when to open up a relationship you're going to do and when you're not going to do it. Because, okay, can I go these journeys of into the darkness, into the death, and into the rebirth with my partner? That is when the relationship kind of growing. And this is a endless journey, I think. And but that is where, the true healing happens, and where I think the purpose of the whole relationship is.
My last question to you: what do you love about the feminine, about women, about the feminine? What do you love about them?
Yeah. Now the feminine is like, it's when she is in her openness and juiciness, there's nothing better than that, it's like you can just relax and enjoy, and it makes me happy, makes me full in my heart, makes me shine, make me laugh, make me have jokes, whatever. It's like, it's just it's the best thing, and that's why we love you, and and I think it's like a little bit like what you women, you can feel if a man is in his presence, but we can also same when a woman is fully in her radiance. It's like, wow, it's make our day, then life is no problem in the world. It's like, I'm happy, and when you are happy, or when my partner is happy.
I love that, because I think the old-fashioned thing is like that. What was it, like happy wife, happy life? But I do think like the masculine just wants his woman to be her most radiant self, and if he can do something to help her get there, then that's like the best thing ever. But to do that without losing himself, without betraying himself.
And like what I do sometimes when I'm coaching relationship is like doing the gratitude challenge, giving each other what you like about each other, and that's a good practice.
So can you say more about that? So that's like letting each other know like what I'm grateful for in my partner.
So doing that, for instance, for 21 days, and just what I like about you is saying 2-3 things a day, and then just if you do that for 21 days, it's like, wow, something happens in the relationship normally, especially when I going through shitty times. It's like, it's a good practice to do.
It goes from war zone to love zone. A lot of relationships are about war zone, about you're right, I'm wrong, whatever it is. It's actually loving. Okay, if people want to hear more about you, learn more about you, work with you, where can they find you?
Yes, I have a webpage called the wildmanprogram.com. So I have now and then some free challenges. I think I have another one coming 30th of August, where I do some embodiment practices and supporting also to keep the sexual energy and some love. And then going into the Wildman program later if people want to kind of go for a paid course. But then, have a taste. And you also have a possibility to download for free, like the Wildman workout on my webpage if they want to go there.
I definitely recommend anybody checking out your webpage, because there is so many interesting things on there. I just spent a wonderful half hour checking it all out. But there's lots of interesting things on there. So I'd highly recommend checking out your website. Thank you so much, Paal. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your perspectives. I really, really appreciate it. And I find you a very interesting man and a very wise man.
Thank you. Thank you for your curious questions and and for this podcast. Really, really amazing. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.